It's Alabama week here in Saratoga. Hi, everyone. Matthew DeSantis here with NYRA Bets, along with my colleague Kaylie Shapiro, who has no idea what that reference was to that I just started off with. But it is Alabama week here at Saratoga. Got a big grade one on the line. Before we get to this preview of a really outstanding race, I want to remind you to press that like and subscribe button today. Subscribing is entirely free of cost. Just notifies you when new videos drop on the channel, whether those are race previews, full card analyses, handicapping and betting tutorials, weekly programs, and so much more. So press that like and subscribe button today. Kaylie, do you have any idea who Keith Jackson is?
Nope.
All right. Well, I know that you know who these 6 horses are, though, that are running in this weekend's
absolutely.
Alabama. That I know you know. Listen, this was a race last year. I wanted to take a very quick history lesson. Torpedo Anna obviously did not run in this race last year because she targeted the Travers. And this year, this division feels very wide open. And last year's Alabama kind of felt like a consolation prize. Like, it was a grade 1 power squeeze, or absolutely earned a huge run there. But everybody knew who the best filly was.
Right.
It was running the next week.
Yes.
This year, we don't know who the best filly is, and that's exciting.
Super exciting, and there's so many different storylines and things going on in this year's Alabama. You have the filly coming over from the UAE.
Yeah.
Actually, Sweden. She's coming over from Sweden, but you know that one
in the UAE.
So that's super interesting. Queen Azteca coming over, as well as Nitrogen, second try on the dirt.
Yeah.
After that big performance.
Yeah.
You know,
Wonder again.
winning by 17 lengths. So lots of different dynamics going on here. Super interesting. And good cheer.
Yeah. And
coming
good cheer.
back off of poor effort.
Absolutely. Cara. I mean, it's going to be a really star-studded field, but like I said, this year it feels like this race could really portend who is the best 3-year-old filly in a way that last year was a little bit of a different dynamic just because of how great Anna was. Take a first look at this, and it might not be a big field, but man, this is a really strong field. I can't wait to see David Aragona's morning line on this, but we're going 1.25 miles for 3-year-old fillies on Saturday in the grade 1 Alabama. Let's just start from the inside and work our way out a little bit. Number 1, Margie's Intention for trainer Brad Cox. This is a Louisiana bred, and this is a horse you really have started to get a little bit more interested in. Irad Ortiz Jr. up on the mound, taking over for Luan Machado. Irad did ride this horse before, actually down at Fairgrounds, but interesting horse that just came to Cox's barn recently, and you seem to kind of high on this one potentially.
Not necessarily high, but I do think this one's pretty interesting. Margie's Intention. She's working in company with Good Cheer, or at least she did once. Yeah. And, you know, watching her, that work, that really caught my eye because she held her own working next to Good Cheer, and they both did it, you know, pretty easy. They were both kind of asked towards the end, but she held her own there, and Good Cheer did not gallop out past her or anything of that matter. I think this filly, the big question here, I mean, we have to start off with the fact that this race is run at 1.25 miles, obviously. So that's really where I'm starting. You never really know if they're going to get the distance, but certainly this one physically looks like she can handle 1.25 miles. You just have to, you know, find out on Saturday. But it's pretty interesting because this is Cox's second entry. Also has Good Cheer in here. So we have Cassie with 2, Cox with 2, and then the other 2 fillies in here. So that makes for some pretty interesting dynamics. You kind of wonder what this one's role might be, but I think that it's not necessarily like she's like a speedball or a fast horse. Obviously, she's going to be ridden aggressively out of the gate, you'd imagine, to get herself into the mix. She's the filly in here with the best speed besides Cara. But I mean, I think that she's in this race to be in this race on her own. You know, obviously Good Cheer has big connections in Go Dolphin, but this one has some pretty big connections as well in Windstar. So pretty interesting.
I agree. No, a very interesting horse. We will need to move forward on the buyer speed figures. A little bit light. Best effort was the Black Eyed Susan, obviously winning that over Paris Lily and Kinsey Queen that day. But as you said, this one, natural running style is coming from off the pace. This is not a horse that's a speedball necessarily. And even if you isolate some of those races where she's shown better early speed, she still prefers to sit off the pace. And so Irad is going to be aggressive from that inside rail, no doubt about it. But there's no competition. I mean, I'd be stunned if she was somehow able to outgun Cara to the first turn. I mean, I just don't see that happening. I see her sitting more of a pocket trip, Cara crossing and clearing. And it brings up what's going to happen with her stablemate, Good Cheer, who was previously undefeated before the Acorn last time out and was a perfect 7 for 7. It was a sloppy track that day. It was not great conditions. She never really looked super comfortable that day, going back and watching that race. And now she's back. But now there's a little bit of a chink in the armor for her. It's not as if she's so unbeatable as she was before. And one of the points that many people had made is she never had that much of a buyer speed figure advantage over everyone else in the field. And then she had a little bit of an off day in the Acorn. You saw there's not a lot of margin of error there for her. If she's a little off her A game, there's plenty of other fillies you can step up and beat her.
Yeah, I think so. But when you think about it, this filly was undefeated before she ran in the Acorn.
Yep.
And not only, like you mentioned, was it off track that day, a sloppy sealed track. A lot of horses didn't fire that day. They were supposed to fire, not just Good Cheer. Before that, she won every single race. I don't think that she turned sour in the Acorn. Like you said, the track, but not only the track, she was hung wide the entire time. She just never got into a good rhythm. I'm drawing a line through it a little bit. Obviously, I would have a lot more questions if there wasn't the presence of Cara or even nitrogen that would attract some money from the public. I have a little bit of interest just given the fact that you'll probably get the best price you've gotten on Good Cheer in a very long time in this race.
I would agree. She's likely to be third choice in the morning line. At the very worst, second choice. Cara, you figure, is probably going to be the favorite, and you would imagine nitrogen is going to be a very heavy presence as well. And so there's the potential for Good Cheer, who, like you said, previously undefeated and was 1-4 in that Acorn, is potentially now the top choice or the third choice on the morning line or by the betting public by the time it comes around. So listen, she's a really impressive runner, is very versatile, can track the pace, can sit a little further back. But I do think her best effort is making sure she's not letting Cara get too far ahead of her, certainly. And it would behoove her to have somebody press Cara. We'll see if that is actually able to happen at all. But like I said, she's so impressive. Working out in company with Margie's Intention, like you said, but a filly with so much class, so many great connections. Brad Cox, Louis Saez, Godolphin. But again, she's going to need to rebound and show that she can do it. And it is going to be interesting to see if she can.
And the big positive about her is also that you have hope in the fact that she can get the 1.25 mile distance. And what's kind of interesting is, I mean, that race was run on Belmont weekend, obviously the Acorn. And then we've been up here for the entire Saratoga meet. I've seen her at least a couple times a week out on the track in the morning. She actually looks like she's grown and got a bit stronger. I like the way that she looks in her works since that off effort in the Acorn. I have a lot of interest in her into this race, and she's never been a pace dependent filly. So Cara being lone speed doesn't necessarily scare me.
No, it doesn't scare me that she's lone speed. You're right. She's not pace dependent. What scares me is Cara gets a little brave up there on the front end when nobody's pressing her. And so that kind of changes the dynamics. But you're right. Good Cheer is going to make her move if she's on her A game. And by the way, we should say we're expecting lovely weather on Saturday. It's going to be a fast track, no sloppy conditions. That's why I think, to your point, you can feel comfortable drawing lines through some of these horses' previous performances. A horse that's going to be a bit of a long shot is Kinsey Queen, Ford, Greg Compton, Junior Alvarado up on the mount. This one, hasn't really been able to break through in a big way. Best efforts have come with Lasix, notably. And listen, this one's going to be a pretty big long shot, I would imagine. Was close to Margie's Intention in that Delaware Oaks last time out, and wasn't that far off of it in the Black-Eyed Susan. But again, still tough to see this one making a big jump, knowing this one's a deep closer as well in a race that doesn't have a lot of pace.
Yeah, I don't think that she's going to get the pace set up that she might necessarily need in this race. And we've seen, although McKinsey, you'd imagine that they can handle distance, we've seen a lot of them benefit from races that are either one turn with pace. So it is a little bit of a concern, but definitely going to be a big price in here.
Yeah, definitely a big price. And you don't often see 1 mile workouts leading up to a race, but that's exactly what Compton did. This filly went 1:43 to the mile at Delaware Park on August 3rd. So he's building foundation into her. That's for sure. We're going to get a 1.25 miles one way or the other. Whether she's crosses the finish wire first or last, she's going to get the 1.25 miles. Let's move to the most interesting. Well, I shouldn't even say that. Maybe the second most interesting horse in this field. And that is Nitrogen. For trainer Mark Casse, who is one of the best fillies, regardless of surface, that we have right now as a 3-year-old crop. And she was on a tear on the turf, winning the Florida Oaks, winning the Appalachian, winning the Edgewood. Then that effort in the Wonder again. It happened over that Belmont Stakes Racing Festival weekend. Up here, it was taken off the turf, and she ends up going on the dirt in a very short 3-horse field and wins by 17 lengths and looks phenomenal doing it. Then she goes to the Belmont Oaks, and she gets nabbed at the wire by Fiona and loses that race at 1 1/8 miles. Now she's going 1 1/4 miles on the dirt, and I got to give Mark Casse a ton of credit. He's got 2 great fillies, and he's running them against each other. What are your thoughts on whether Nitrogen can handle, A, the surface of a fast track, not a sloppy track like last time, and whether or not she can do the 1 1/4 miles?
I think that she's going to be able to handle it. And you'd imagine with the pedigree that she's definitely going to be able or should be able to handle a 1 1/4 miles. Although that figure looks really good. I mean, it's her best figure to date, if I'm not mistaken, that 91 in the Wonder again. She was running against horses that are turf horses there. So it either, she got brave when she got up front. I think she's so talented. I'm so excited that she's in the race. I think that she'll have no problem handling the surface. It's a matter of if she's going to be able to repeat that we saw in the Wonder again against the best dirt fillies that we have in this division. That's certainly a big question here. It
is. As she finished that race, ears pricked, full of run, just geared down by Jose Ortiz. Jose obviously remains up on her. It is interesting. She got napped at the wire going 1 1/8 miles on the turf. She's going to have to obviously go a little bit longer now on the dirt, which can sometimes be an issue. Usually horses, you can get a little more distance out of them on turf than you can on dirt. But you're right. Medaglia d'Oro out of an Uncle Mo mare. There's plenty of dirt pedigree here for this one to be able to get the surface. And I like the fact that Cassie's worked her over the dirt the last couple of times out, because this is a horse that traditionally only works over the turf. So the fact that now Cassie's being intentional, she's got a nice 48 flat 4 furlong work, a nice 101 and 4 kind of maintenance work going 5 furlongs. So there's a lot to like with her. It's going to be a little bit of a question mark where she sits in the field, because obviously pace dynamics on turf versus dirt are very different. 100%. But she's got some speed. She's not like a traditional deep closer on the turf or anything like that. She usually tracks the pace and is mid-pack at worst.
Yeah, you'd imagine that she's going to be sitting 3rd or 4th here. That's what I figure for her. I mean, it's a 6-horse field. I wouldn't even be shocked if I saw her sitting 2nd, or maybe, pretty close to Margie's Intention. I put those 2 right behind Cara. Hopefully Cara doesn't get too far away from them. I imagine she's going to want to sustain some energy going 1 1/4 miles for the first time. But like you said, we all know how she gets up there. But that's kind of where I see Nitrogen sitting. It'll be obviously really exciting that she's even in this race. So
100%. That is very interesting that she's in this race. Let's talk about Queen Azteca. I'm just going to say this. Kaylie, you manifested this.
I feel like I did.
You manifested this. You saw this filly win the UAE Oaks. And you said, man, I hope she could come over for the Kentucky Oaks. Maybe even something at Saratoga. That would be so much. Well, now here she is.
I know.
A horse that started its career in Norway, has run in Sweden, Dubai, and back in Sweden, was a $22,000 sale as the daughter of Sharp Azteca. She's won over $300,000 on the track. She's racked up some big wins, including the Derby next stop over in Sweden, 2 back. Just lost out on the Jockey Club Derby over there last time. But this is a complete X factor. I'm just interested to see her run. What are your thoughts? Joel Rosario up on the map. It's a Hall of Famer.
I love the fact that he's on.
Yeah, I know.
He's, she's a deep closer.
Yeah,
that's her running style. I've been watching her for a very long time. This filly, obviously, so excited that she's here. She comes from a huge family. That My Flag female family. She's really, really deep family. She was actually purchased here in the U.S. and was taken, like you said, to Norway, Sweden, et cetera, et cetera. But I'll have to say the elephant in the room, the races are really slow. So I don't know about that track in Sweden, necessarily how it plays there. I tried finding any info I could, but she is a huge question mark here. I mean, I'm just so excited that she's even here running in the race. She's going to come flying late. Out of everyone in this race, she is the one horse that's proven to at least have ability at a race that is nearly this long. She's run 1.5 miles. She finished 2nd, only lost by a length to a filly that, doesn't look that good. But nonetheless, it's pretty interesting. She can get the distance, and just excited for her to even be here.
I am too. Listen, she won at 1 3/8 miles 2 back. She competed in the UAE Derby against the boys. And we should point out that the last 2 races that she had were against boys. And so a little bit of like the Swedish, we'll say it, the Scandinavian Torpedo Anna. That's what she is.
Yeah.
She's just the Scandinavian Zenyatta. Ooh, we might have some California people giving us notes on that. But listen, it's interesting that she has been running against males over there, which is, I think, something to at least take note of. And the other problem is when you watch these races overseas, and we can watch the replays and things like that, you don't really see the internal fractions as well. So yes, the final times are slow, but I have a feeling a lot of times that's because the internal fractions are slow too.
I will say she's flying home late.
Yes, she is.
Each and every race. The one, the Cocoa Beach, that one is a really good race of hers. And then also the UAE, she comes flying home in both of them. And like you said, has run against the boys a few times. I guess the best way that you can kind of see where she lands in this type of field is by comparing her. You know, you can look and see that she's run against NYRA Daytona and Heart of Honor, who have run against our boys here in America. In my opinion, Cara and Good Cheer would smoke those two horses. Those two males that I think running against.
I think Heart of Honor would be close, but
So I'm kind of using that as a reference, even though that's, you know, just thinking about it in that way.
No, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. And it makes sense. And credit to Niels Peterson for bringing this one over. I think it's a lot of fun that she's going to come here. Yeah, I'm very excited to see this one too. And listen, let's talk about the one we're also very excited to see, which is Cara, who's likely to be your morning line favorite. Certainly should be based upon her effort. Yes, she lost the Kentucky Oaks, where Tenma really dueled her into submission and she faded back. But that's always been the MO on Cara. Mark Cassie said it. If you press us, maybe we don't win, but you won't win either. But if you leave us alone up front, and nobody's catching her. And there's nobody with the speed of Cara in this race. She's going to cross and clear this field. And the only question is, street sense out of a Bernardini mare, is she going to get a mile and a quarter?
I believe that she'll be able to handle a mile and a quarter. It's a matter of how fast she goes, for sure. That's going to, you know, you have to take that into consideration. But like you mentioned, she's lone speed. She's going to cross right over. And like you brought up Tenma, there's not even a filly as fast as Tenma in here. So
potentially Nitrogen is the next fastest
but
filly.
It's not like Cassie's going to have Nitrogen going soft and, you know. So it's interesting. What do you think actually about Margie's intention? Do you think that horse serves a role in here? I know I said in the beginning of the video, she's good enough to just be in here on her own, which I do believe. But why is she here? Because it's, you know, Cox has her and a Good Cheer. She's probably here to try to soften Cara up a little bit, or, you know, pressure her and make her go a little faster, inject some more speed for Good Cheer.
It's going to be interesting because the question is going to be whether or not they can pull what they did a couple of weeks ago to Fierceness in the Whitney, where Cara's got the outside post. She's got blazing speed. She's going to be able to cross and clear everybody. The question is then, does Margie's intention, rather than sitting a pocket trip second, does Irad take her off the rail and move up on the outside of Cara and press her the whole time? Now, or is Margie's intention there to make sure that, again, the pace stays honest, not necessarily hot, but just honest, that, you know, rather than letting Cara get 3 lengths clear of the field, which she can do sometimes, okay, let's just keep her, let's stay off her back hip, let's stay, you know, let's have her feel us.
I agree with
not
that.
That sort of thing. You know, kind of like what Highland Falls did with Arthur's Ride last year, just making a horse feel the other horse sometimes. Now, the question is, does Nitrogen play a role in this? Does Nitrogen kind of box in Margie's intention to keep her from getting out in that spot? And so that's going to be, because if Cara's up front, Margie's intention's on the rail, Cara can come over and be like, you're not going to get to my stablemate. I'm going to be the one to actually kind of track off her pace. So it's going to be interesting to see going into the first turn what the dynamics are. But, you know, Margie's intention is a good horse on her own right and has been working nicely with Good Cheer, looking really good. So, you know, maybe Cox is trying to use a little bit of a rabbit in this race, but still hard to really go with Cara in the way that I think she needs to be pressed. I mean, a horse like Scottish Lassie has a little bit of speed, and we saw her come back to crush in the coaching club of Eric Oaks, and she couldn't get anywhere near Cara early on in that Acorn. So
great point.
You know,
this is the horse to beat.
100%.
You know, Good Cheer obviously is an amazing filly. Cara is the horse to beat here. We can't get it twisted. I mean, this filly is a problem. She's a really big problem. And not only that, you know, she skipped where she had to scratch from.
Oh, yeah. She scratched from the coaching club, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, because she was supposed to be in that, and then the Cassie barn got put under quarantine.
Right.
And so she had to scratch out of that. So she is ready to go.
Yeah, she is. And I love her work pattern coming into this as well. It's not that they're working her hard every single time. You can see she works fast, then it's a maintenance. She works fast, then it's a maintenance. And even when she is working fast, they're not grilling her for that either. No. So it's kind of interesting. I think she's coming into this at a peak. Definitely in amazing form. You know, Cara is very much the horse to beat here.
She is. I mean, now some people will point out the every other, that she's a little bit of an every other horse the last 6-7 times out. This would be the every. You know, this would be the kind of the non-good start potentially. But I agree with you that you can make excuses for why she didn't run well in some of those other spots. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of that is dynamics. Mark Cassie's winning 24% of his entries this meet. He's got Dylan Davis up. Those two together have been doing great, 26% over the course of the last year at Saratoga. So listen, folks, it's going to be a doozy of a race on Saturday. We're going to come back with an official selections and picks a little bit later this week. Mm-hmm. I think you could make a strong case for at least 3 of these horses in terms of 100%. Nitrogen, Good Cheer, and Cara. And I wouldn't even call you foolish for making a case for Margie's Intention. Oh, and listen, if you want to throw down one downfield for Queen Azteca, I'm not gonna be upset about it. You know,
the truth of the matter is the filly could end up loving the track here. Yeah, and she comes from a huge family, and that is not to be taken lightly. No. That have also historically run very well right up here in Saratoga.
Yeah, when you have a Shug McGahee Breeders' Cup winner in your family, I think it's a pretty serious.
Pretty interesting, but I would say, you know, like we've said, Cara is the horse to beat. Nitrogen is a very interesting option, but also I'm really banking on the fact that we're probably going to get the best price on Good Cheer that we have in a while, and she might present really good value here.
She might, no, I think she will. I mean, for sure, and it is going to be
3-1 to me, 7-2.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where the betting public goes, because this one's good. It could go a few different ways. Mm-hmm. I'm interested. So, listen, for Kaylie Shapiro, my name is Matthew DeSantis. Thank you so much for tuning into this Alabama preview. Make sure to check out all of our great content that we have here on NYRA Bets. Until next time, friends, like I said, my name is Matthew DeSantis. She's Kaylie Shapiro. Wishing you a great and prosperous day at the races and reminding you it's now post time.